Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is Catch Your Breath 60 Tea Time Tuesday. How is everybody today? I'm kind of waiting for a couple people to come on, but I'm not too concerned about it. In the background here, you'll see another picture that my nephew did for me. It's up and framed, and I wanted to show it to you today, and I absolutely love it. It's a teacup with COPD in the middle of it, and it has some nice affirmations around it. My name is Barbara Moore, and I have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, for those of you who don't know me. I started my blog and my community in 2016 when I was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. I also had 2 sudden cardiac arrests that were, they believe, that was caused by my COPD. And so this is my journey, and I am enjoying inviting people and building my community so that we can help each other. One of the problems with COPD is that we don't talk about it enough, right? And because everybody feels so so much guilt about coming down with COPD. And hi, Wendy, nice of you to join us today. So we tend not to talk about it too much. What we forget is that when we were smoking and when we were young and when all of those things happened, we didn't have the knowledge that we have today. And perhaps if we had, we would have made different choices. But we all made the choices that we did, and that was our life. And this is what it's led us to. And it doesn't mean that we don't have a whole lot of life left, because I have talked to more and more people who have had COPD for 30, 40, 50 years. So COPD is no longer the death sentence that it used to be. And we can live a long, happy life. So today, I wanted to talk to you about chronic illness and maintaining friendships. One of the biggest things is about chronic illness is that it can sometimes be lonely. And for some of us, you know, like myself, I've had to give up my career, and I'm not able to actually go into work every day. I tried desperately to keep up my job, but I just couldn't do it. And so I've had to reinvent myself, and now I work from home. And so that takes out away a whole social aspect, because I was a teacher and I would have classrooms of 30 and 40 people every day. So I had lots of interaction with lots of people, and I would actually come home at night and not want to talk to anybody because I had been socializing all day. And so it makes things a little bit different. So how do we feel when we start to lose friends that we cherished? This is a real process for us as we go through the loss and the grief of how our lives have changed. Old lives and old patterns and old ways have to be pushed aside. We become disoriented, and we do suffer a real sense of grief. Grief for our lost life, and grief for those people who can no longer stay in our life. When we have chronic illness, everything changes. All our priorities shift. And sometimes we have to watch people walk away from us, and there's nothing that we can do about it. Hi, Marion. We have to allow people to go. Some people, it's not always about us, right? And some people are just, it's not possible for them to do it. And I know that at different times in my life, I was one of these people who just could not be involved with you if you were sick. And it was for various reasons. Some of them were selfish, and some of them were very, very real. So everything changes, and sometimes we have to watch people walk away and just let them go. We no longer have the desire and the priorities. Our priorities have all changed now, right? Once we get sick, everything changes. So everything shifts, and we lose friends for a ton of reasons. When I was first sick and first diagnosed, I lost 3 friends within the first 6 months of my diagnosis. And I felt like they were dropping like flies around me. And I couldn't believe that how things had changed and shifted. And these people that I lost were very sudden deaths. So we didn't really have a lot of time to go through the process of grieving for them and that sort of thing. So it was very, very hard. And I knew that at that point that things were going to change, that when I came home from the hospital, things were never going to be the same. Hi, Aubin. So in that first 6 months, losing 3 very close friends changed actually the social structure of my life. My life after chronic illness looks nothing like my life did before chronic illness. For me, it was making changes to not smoking. And before that, my life was very much revolved around smoking, drinking, partying. It wasn't that I was a big party animal. It was just that before chronic illness, I had no restrictions. And I did smoke, and I smoked up to the time that I was diagnosed, right? So everything changed once I was diagnosed. I could no longer do the things that I used to do before. Hi, Carol. Thank you for joining us today. I could no longer do the things that I could do before, and I had to push away some of my friends. I could no longer be drinking and partying. I could no longer participate the way that I used to participate, and my focus changed. I had less time for people, and it was no longer about an abundance of friends. It was more about the quality of friends that I had. It was a time to take into consideration how to reassess friendships and whether how much we were willing to put into friendships going forward and what we were willing to do in order to maintain them. So I looked at some of the friendships that I had, and one of the questions that you have to ask yourself when you become chronically ill is, what is your priorities? And I looked for healthy relationships or healthy friendships. Hi, Donna. Donna's my sister-in-law. Thanks for joining today, Donna. So I looked for healthy relationships, and I wanted to be around people who were happy to hear from me and people who were willing to participate in what I was going through at the time. My life was changing, and I wasn't sure what it was going to look like. I wasn't sure how people would be able to participate with me, but I did want those people around me who were willing to do it. I had limited energy, and that meant less time for less people. So I had to distinguish who I would work hard at keeping in my life and who I would let walk away. We have to look out with the old ones and in with the new ones, right? When our life changes and when things like this change in our life, things will automatically change. And so new people will come into our lives. And we have to get rid of the toxic ones, the ones that bring drama, the ones that that are critical and negative and are demanding and needy. We don't need these people in our lives. And with our chronic illness, we need to be very, very selfish. And so giving to needy and drama people, we just don't have the time for it anymore. And so these are the people that I let go from my life. They did not serve my needs, and so I allowed them to leave, and I let them go. And I let them go with no remorse and no grief. And I did not hold it against them. Anytime that those people want to come back into my life, they're more than welcome, but they must do it on my terms now. So how easy is it to make friends? You know, for most of us, we're here in our own little worlds, and we're kind of ostracized and by ourselves. And it's really hard sometimes to get out and to socialize. I know that I spend an awful lot of time in my house and around my house because this is my safe zone, right? I do go out, but I go out a lot with my husband, and I don't go independently. So when somebody says to me, oh, you know what, I live in your area, would you like to come for a coffee? I have to decide whether I would like to invite my husband for the coffee, whether I have to get a cab and go, or what's that going to look like, right? And what are they going to think about if I'm always with my husband? So it's kind of the things that you have to consider. So one of the easy ways to join a book, to make some friends, is to join a book club. Almost all of us that are around my age, we're all avid readers. And joining book clubs, you can do it online as well as in person. doing something in person is really cool when you've got a chronic illness, because for most of us, we don't go out. And we don't go out on a regular basis. So having something like a book club where you would have to participate like once a week or once a month or whatever, right? And hopefully you would have some people that you would be able to talk to throughout, in between the meetings, right? That you would be able to text and talk to. Being on social media is really, really important. It's how we work these days. And if you're not on social media, you're really missing a whole chunk of people who are like you. They may not be in the same area as you. And so without social media, you might not have had the opportunity to actually engage with these people. But here we are, and it doesn't cost us, well, if you have internet, I know it costs you for internet, but beyond that, it doesn't cost you anything. So we don't have long distance charges. We're not calling on, on the phone and that sort of thing, right? And so social media can be a great place to connect with people. And this is where my greatest connection or social connection is on social media. And I think everybody probably knows that. I belong to support groups, and I look for support groups, of course, that have something about COPD and heart. I look for support groups that serve me. So COPD Exercise to Healthy Living serves me because they're encouraging me to exercise all the time, and I'm extremely lazy. I look for healthy eating, and I always like to, hi Heather, hi Lee. I like to look for healthy eating because I'm not by nature a healthy eater, obviously. So I look to be encouraged for that, and I look for new salads and stuff like that I can make that is very light, because with COPD we sometimes have issues about eating heavy foods and so forth, right? So in-person or online supports are absolutely fabulous. They cost you nothing, and not only do you get to vent, but you also get to hear what other people are venting about and what is bothering other people. And it's interesting sometimes to know what's bothering other people, because we can be happy that that's not bothering us, right? The idea of online supports is that we are there to support people, and we're not always there to just talk about ourselves, but we're sometimes there to help other people, and it always gives us a sense of pleasure, or it should give us a sense of pleasure to be able to help others. It is also a wealth of information. So if you're looking for online support, go to Facebook and look at their groups and type in on the search bar COPD, and you will come up with an amazing list of groups. Now, not all groups serve me, and I don't participate in all groups that I actually belong to. But I am active in the ones that serve me. So, as selfish as that seems, it is what it is. It serves me, and so I contribute. We should also be looking for in-person supports. In-person supports are actually fabulous. So I run a support group through Ontario Lung, and I was very, very lucky to be asked to do that. I look at it as a compliment. If you don't have an online support or an in-person support group in your area, you are free to start one. There's not a lot of criteria, and I'd be happy to help anybody who is interested in doing that. In-person peer support group means that it is run by people like yourself. They are there to support each other. They're not exactly medical people, but they're there just to offer support, and it's a great source of friendship. And doesn't always have to be a great big group. So, my group is 4 to 6, maybe 8 people sometimes. And we're fine with it. We don't care about that. We would love to have more people, and everybody's welcome. But if that's all that's interested in coming, then, and I know that there's a ton of people out there who are suffering from COPD who cannot push themselves to get to in-person support groups. But I'm telling you, it is worth its weight in gold. So if you don't have one, or if you can't find one through your lung association, consider starting one. Let's say you meet 5 or 6 people in your area. You never know what you can offer those people and what they can offer you. In Ontario and in Southern Ontario, and I don't know if this is true everywhere, but we have great supports through our library. So we have a lot of free supports. And they're all there for the looking, right? For the asking. You start with your doctor and you start with social workers and you start with the medical profession, and they can usually tell you or head you off someplace. If you can't find anything there, talk to your oxygen supplier and never stop talking about it, because being social and being active is really important to us. It gets us out of bed. It changes our thought trend. It makes us happy to be able to support other people. At least it should. So if you join a sports team, if you have a sports team, think about all of the camaraderie that we have back and forth, Facebook and all kinds of social media through sports teams, right? It's not a bad thing to join something because of a sports team, and to join something that's that doesn't have anything to do with your chronic illness. Come on to tea time. We have a great time on tea time. And I know a lot of you have talked, throughout the pages and are leaving comments with each other and everything. And I think it's fabulous because I think that some friendships can be made here. You certainly have open dialogue to talk. There's a couple of new support groups, and I'm going to have some through my blog tomorrow. When I do my blog post tomorrow. And there's a couple of new places that you can go to, like social media online, when you have a chronic illness. And they're starting to do some support groups for people who have chronic illness and can't get out to a support group. So that's pretty interesting, right? Because it's all coming to social media. So why do you want friends? We're chronically ill, and we're chronically ill, so why do we care about having friends? Well, let me tell you. So my husband is retired now, and we're both in our early 60s. And so we're both retired. And so because my husband's retired now, he becomes my caregiver, right? Because there's always something that I need, and there's always something that, is a little bit easier for him to do than for me. So why do I need friends? I've got my husband. Well, sometimes I need to get away from him, right? Sometimes he needs to get away from me. Think about that, right? We all want to have a special person to talk to, right? And in my life, my focus has always been on family. So I talk more about family. When my friendships are more about family than they are about actual friends. And it's always been that way in our family because I come from a huge Irish Catholic family. And so we were all, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces, all of that stuff, right? And that kept me busy. But now, things are changing, and everybody wants to have a special person to vent to. So I had my daughter, and she was married but no children, and she was my go-to person. And then she went and got pregnant, and that changed the dynamics of that. And now my husband has become my caregiver, but he would like to have a life too, and so it would be nice to have somebody to another special person that you can go to, just somebody to vent to, somebody who's not your spouse, who you can say things to, and you can do it without repercussions, right? That was always the thing about a friend, right? Many of us are married, and, we've been through the ups and downs, and I hate him and I love him and all of that crap. And most of us who have friends, who have had friends for some time, will know that we are good friends with people who we've been able to vent to, who have not held it against us, or our spouses. Because, when I say something about my husband, or I say something about my children, I'm going to take it back in 5 minutes, and I don't want you to be mad at them because of something that I've said. So allow me to vent without holding it against me. So let's talk about what it takes once we find that person and we decide that we're going to make some friendships. Let's talk about the things that it takes to be a good friend. So I did all kinds of research. I was up all night researching this, and I was looking at a whole bunch of lists and lists of stuff, okay? And what does it take to be a good friend? So, listening. Do you know that some people can't listen? It's a terrible thing, and some people are just very, very bad listeners. When you're a good friend, you listen, and you don't give solutions. You don't offer any solutions. You ask questions. We let people speak. Everybody wants to be heard. And even if I am chronically ill and the other person is not, they still have things that they want to talk about. And it doesn't have to always be about your chronic illness. People become frustrated and they have complaints, and they're not asking you to fix them. They're just simply asking you to listen. Nobody's asking you to fix their problems. Everybody knows that if there was a way to fix it, they would have done it. But sometimes just talking through something can help you get to where you need to be. And lending an ear makes you a good friend. Remember, it doesn't always have to be about you. Be supportive. Support goes both ways. Even though I am chronically ill, I have friends who are not chronically ill, and they need support about different things than I do. They have a different life than I do, and they have different problems. So don't compare your problems to somebody else. We're all unique. But one thing that I will tell you is this. If I have a problem, it is just as serious as your problem. So be supportive and be there for people. Always extend a lending hand. Try talking about other things other than your illness. Not everybody wants to hear about your illness. And some people want to be around you, but they can't handle talking about your chronic illness. And I know it can't go away. We gasp for air. We have oxygen. It's clearly plugged into my nose. So it's not going away. But do we have to talk about that all the time? Can we stay current on affairs and talk about those things that interest another person? So, I don't watch a lot of TV these days, especially in the summertime. We never did watch a lot of TV. And so staying on current affairs is a little bit harder for me, but I kind of do it through social media. And I look for things that I think will be funny, or I think, well, oh, you know what? She's going to think this is really funny when I repeat this story. And so I try to, keep things light, and I try to keep things a little bit different than the normal, like, oh my God, poor me, right? So participate in funny things and telling somebody something funny. Everybody needs to hear something funny. I giggle to myself when I think about my grandson and some of the stuff he does, and how I'm going to tell my where I can tell my sister about the funny things that my grandson did, because I know that she's going to laugh and laugh and laugh about it. So I look at those things and I hide those stories in my mind and look for an opportunity to bring them out, because they are very, very funny. Make 3 new friends through support groups, both in person and online, and they don't have to be chronic illness support groups. Carol, I agree with you. I want friends who don't have COPD. But the problem is that people who don't have COPD don't understand COPD, and so they can't always help me if I'm in trouble. Hi, Mary. Nice of you to join us today. So I need somebody who can kind of be a bit of support to me, who won't find it intrusive, and yet is still willing to support me, right? So making new friends online and in person is not a bad deal. And think about that book club, because you can go, Indigo, Chapters, all of those places. They have book clubs, and they're all free, and so does the library, right? Make the first step and see what happens. You never know, right? Maybe nothing will come of it, and maybe something will come of it. Ask people how you can support them. Ask people if you can do something for them. Give back. I always found that reaching out with a text or a call and sometimes an email, think about the person that you're talking to and what social media medium they use. And whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a whole lot. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes worth of conversation, but it can be, hey, guess what? I'm thinking about you today. And when I do that to you, if I text you on Instagram or Facebook or email or whatever it is, I totally mean this. It means that you've been on my mind and I'm worried about you and I want the best for you. And so when I text you or email you, I sincerely mean that I am thinking about you, and I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't, because I don't sit around and say, okay, who can I text today to bug them, right? Everybody goes through stuff in their life and everybody needs support for it. Just because something isn't important to you doesn't mean that it's not important to other people. They have other people in their lives. Right now, my brother-in-law is going through a really hard time. He's really, really sick. And my sister, I feel so bad for her. She's on her own and I can't do anything to help her, right? But what I can do is I can be there to reach out to her. I can talk to her before she goes to the hospital in the morning, and I can talk to her at night about what the results of what the doctors are saying. I don't know what the doctors are going to say. I don't know what's wrong with him. I have no idea what's wrong with him. But what I can do is be there to support her as much as I possibly can. So make plans with friends, but make them tentative. Sometimes we have to cancel, and this is a product of chronic illness. There's not much you can do about it. So sometimes we have to cancel, but make alternative plans for the future. State your limitations and don't assume that people won't or can't do things. People can do things. People might not want to do things, but people can do things, right? And so as I don't assume about you, don't allow people to assume about yourself. When people say to me, well, I was going to invite you, but I didn't think. And then I say, well, you know what? You didn't think because that was something that I might have gone to. Be patient when someone has to cancel and don't take it personally. People have to cancel for different reasons. I've had to cancel plans in the past because of kids or family or dogs or cats or whatever, right? One time we had plans to go up north and my dog ripped her paw. And so how was I going to take the dog up north in the water and everything when, she ripped her paw and she had a paw that was hanging open. So it might not be important to you, but it was important to me. Don't give up on your friendships. We all need to have some social contact. We are all social animals. And this is why on Sunday morning, Carol, you had the what are your animals? And everybody has an animal. And with COPD and chronic illness like we have, we all know that we shouldn't have animals. Animal fur is not good for us. But almost all of us have one because we are social people. We are social animals. And we need to be around other people. Stop taking things personally. It's not about you. Sometimes people just cannot do what it takes to become social, right? So don't live your life in isolation. Being isolated is one of the hardest things that you will do, and it's a prison that you put yourself into. There's no need to be isolated. There are people out there who are looking for you. There are people out there who need you, and there are people out there who want to be with you. My door is always open, and everybody knows that my door is open. My door has always been open. It's a story for another day, but I got to tell you that my door has always been open, and my kids can attest to this. There was never somebody that they couldn't bring home. So I think that it's important that we maintain some kind of friendships. And I think it's important that we know people outside of our inner circle. How will we know when we have a good friend? They will. So I did a poll this morning in preparation for today's tea time. And I asked people, what were the 3 things that were most important in friendship. Number one was loyalty. I know if you're loyal to me that you are a good friend. And what does loyalty mean? It means that you are true blue. It means that you are always going to be there for you and for me. And it means that you have my back. It means that I can tell you anything, my deepest, darkest secrets. And I know that you're never going to tell anybody. I have to be able to trust you. I have to be able to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and know that when I'm bleeding, you're coming to me, right? There can be no distinguishing between trust. You must have trust, and you must have support. We must have support with each other, right? You have to be able to be supported. And this is the sign of a good friend. It's someone who you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hi, Susan. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you know that they're going to be there. Being loyal is the most important factor. We don't make judgments on people. And we trust, and we're not having to prove ourselves over and over again. So that's about my post today for Tea Time Tuesday. I think friendships are true treasures. And I know that some people have been able to maintain friendships. One of the times that I'm the most jealous of everybody is when I hear somebody coming online and saying, this was my friend from grade school and we're still friends. And I know, Susan Hatcher, you have a lot of those friends that you've been hanging around with for years and years and years. And I think the reason why you're able to do that is because you were a good friend too. So make friendships out there, guys. Be good to each other. Look for somebody around you who might need you, right? That could be your next friend. Now, before we go today, I want to talk about 52 things you can learn for free. And we talked about this last week on Tea Time Tuesday. So did anybody do their 52 things? Did anybody do any of the 52 free things to do? Because this was in line with our hobbies last week. And I did. So anybody at all, 52 things to do for free. Learn something every week. You know, there's 52 weeks in the year, blah, blah, blah. Learn something new. Take some time. Do something for free. Get a hobby. Do something for yourself. Get off the couch. Get out of bed. So here's what I learned. Okay, so I went in and I looked for the kind of easiest thing that I could possibly do that was of interest to me. And what I learned was some stuff about taking pictures. So yay, really good grandson pictures this week. Because we take them on Fridays. And so every Friday there's a whole new roll of film. And so I learned some stuff about taking pictures, and I learned some interesting stuff about pictures. And you know what? It kind of related to my social media, and I'm kind of, really involved in social media. So it was pretty good stuff about cameras and stuff like that. So nobody else did anything like that? Come on, go to my Pinterest page, 52 things to do for free. Learn something new every week. It's great for you to learn something new. And who knows, when you're popping around Pinterest there, have a look at the rest of my boards. Remember, it's at Catchy Breast 60, and have a look at the rest of my boards. I have some beautiful boards in there, and I'm adding to them almost every day, right? So last week we had a big one on staying cool and hydrated because it was very, very hot here in Southern Ontario, wasn't it, Heather Kelly? You're in Southern Ontario. It was hot, like you wouldn't believe. Oh, Carol, do my tarot cards. I'm dying to have somebody do my tarot cards. I love it. My daughter does tarot cards, but she refuses to do mine for, I don't know, obvious reasons, I guess. And so it's been years since I've had mine done, right? Oh, Pat, that's fabulous. Art supplies are fabulous. I'm working on another blog post right now about my some stuff that I did in the past. And hi, Kevin. And So one of the things that I tried to do was to take art lessons, and it was a total disaster that I'll tell you about. But good for you for art stuff. That's great, and that'll keep you going right into the fall, right, and right through the winter. And who knows, maybe you can make some Christmas presents for people this year, right? That's kind of a cool thing to think about right now, right? Learning some skills that you can. Hi, Kevin. That you can. Use to make Christmas presents. You know, who needs Christmas presents anymore, right? We've got abundance of everything. Everybody has everything that they need. And I think, you know, instead of like everybody going into debt and going crazy for Christmas and, oh my God, what am I going to buy everybody? I think, you know, it should be one thing and it should be something homemade, because why not, right? It's kind of a lost art. And especially if you have grandchildren or young children around you. And if you don't have young children around you, why don't you have young children around you? But show them what you can do, because we're pretty smart, you know. We did a lot of crafty stuff, you know, when we were younger and stuff, right? So did anybody learn any computer skills on 52 things to learn for free? Oh, Wendy, I followed you getting your pool up. I couldn't believe it. If anybody wants to follow Wendy Smith on, well, she'll have to give you an invite to Instagram, but I followed the story on Instagram. Oh my God, she put a pool up all by herself. I can't believe it. So it was extenuating circumstances, but she's done a fabulous job. And Wendy, when I come down there, I'm going to swim in that pool because it looks so inviting. You did a stellar job. Like, you are my hero now. I cannot believe that you did that. Like, I asked my husband to clean my windows today because I can't be bothered, but you put up a whole pool. So it's absolutely fabulous. Yeah, you did good. Yeah, so don't forget to have a look, okay? So I am on Pinterest at Catch Your Breath 60. Have a look at my boards. And I know they all say for COPD and chronic illness, but even if you don't have chronic illness, there's a lot of crap in there that you'd like to have a look at. And you can really surf the afternoon away. I am on Instagram at Catch Your Breath 60. I am on Twitter at Catch Your Breath 60. And for those of you who don't know yet, I am on YouTube and I have my own channel. And these Catch Your Breath 60 videos are going on YouTube. So also at the top of my blog page, if you want to review any videos, there's a place there where you can look and it says videos, and all the Catch Your Breath 60 tea time videos are on there, right? So my videos are going and everybody's having a real good time with them and everything. And I'm really, really, really happy. I'm very, very busy and I'm very, very happy. So I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your friendship today. This is Barbara Moore for Catch Your Breath 60. Thank you so much for the community. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate each and every one of you.